You can join us live for our next BookFunnel webinar. Check out the link in the description for more details. We hope to see you there. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. We're a few minutes here past the hour, so I'm pretty sure most everybody has joined us already. We have a few more people coming in, and that's totally fine, but we're going to get going. So here's a little bit of what we're going to cover today. So first of all, why would you want to offer subscriptions? For some people, it's maybe a good fit. For others, it's not. We're going to talk a little bit about that first before we go down this rabbit hole. And again, before you try a subscription model, giving you some things to think about, essentially. We're going to talk about selecting a sales platform for your subscription to go through. And we're also going to talk about different delivery methods. That's going to be kind of the main focus today. There's 3 main delivery methods. There's technically a few other ways you could do this, but there's 3 main ones that I recommend you do. And we're going to talk about those today. We're also going to talk about some universal recommendations that apply to all of those, and then some best practices and pitfalls. And then we'll have some time for questions here at the end. If you feel like I'm rushing through stuff, I'm going to try not to talk fast or anything like that. I can always go back to slides, but we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. You know, the presentation here will go for about maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions after that. That's really the bulk of our time that we're going to spend there, is answering some questions that you might have and going over different scenarios. I can even pull up the BookFunnel dashboard if you want me to show you some stuff there as well. So why offer subscriptions? First of all, subscriptions are a great way for you to offer content to superfans who are always hungry for more, right? And also earn what you are worth as an author. I think many authors these days, especially in the age of KDP Select, kind of underestimate their value. This is something that we actually talked about on the BookFunnel podcast in one of our recent episodes with Johnny B. Truant. I highly recommend you watch that episode. Just kind of knowing what you're worth as an author and knowing that, hey, there are readers out there who would pay you $10 a month for your content. They would be interested in that. So a subscription, again, for those 2 reasons, is content for your super fans, the ones who are going to devour everything you make. It's an outlet for them. They want to support you. And again, it's going to be a way for you to earn what you're worth as an author, right? In addition to that, consistent recurring income can balance out more sporadic revenue from online retailers such as Amazon and others. So your income on those sales platforms, or those marketplaces rather, can vary, right? From time of year, what have you. Your subscriptions hopefully stay pretty steady and build gradually. A slow, steady build of a subscription model is what you want. And that can give you some consistent income that's something that you can rely on, even when your sales on Amazon are all over the place. Maybe you have a really good month with your KDP Select page reads, right? And then the next month is abysmal. Having a subscription model to back that up is very helpful. In addition to that, for some authors, this is maybe not a benefit that everybody might think of, but for some authors, there is an element of motivation in having active paid subscribers. There's people who are paying you every month to produce content, and there's something about that is honestly motivating, right? Not everybody likes that kind of motivation, but it's a benefit for some. You know you have to deliver. It's not one of those things where, okay, my release was supposed to come out in beginning of August, but I'll just kick it back to September. I know you have readers who are waiting for content. For some people, that's a motivating factor that can help you reach your goals as an author. But before you offer subscriptions, there's a few things that I want to kind of bring your attention to and have you think about before we go down that road. So an audience has to come first. It's difficult to build subscriptions without an existing audience. So you're going to have a mailing list. You're going to have to run ads. This is not the easy way out, right? I am not offering you like an easy alternative to the KDP Select, rapid release grind, or there's lots of different ways you can approach self-publishing. This is just an alternative, but it is not the easy way out. So keep that in mind. Right. A lot of the other things that you would have to do if you were dedicated to a certain business model, you're gonna have to do the same kind of things when you offer a subscription. A consistent content output. Readers have to have a reason to subscribe. So existing content and a continuous flow of new content is what's going to attract readers to your subscription. They're not going to sign up if they're not getting something from it. There has to be a little bit of FOMO to motivate them to want to sign up for the subscription. Like, if I don't get the subscription, I'm missing out on something, right? And in order to miss out on something, there has to be a thing that's there. So keep that in mind for your own creative process. You need to have something consistently that you're creating. And this is something we can talk about, because you really don't need to overthink this, but it is ideal if you have regular content that gets released at the very least monthly, if not weekly, or multiple weekly content updates. And we'll talk about what some of that looks like potentially. Because even within a subscription model, people are going to be doing it differently. And so you might just do monthly content. You might do something totally different, right? You might have even a subscription service where you're actually maybe offering something different. Maybe you're offering coaching, right? Maybe you're a nonfiction author and you're offering coaching, and that's your subscription, but you're wanting to also deliver some books and maybe some workbooks and worksheets and things like that along with that, right? Just as an example, just kind of pulling that one out of the hat there, right? That would work with this as well. So everybody, depending on how you're approaching this, if you're a fiction author, there's different ways that you're going to approach it than if you're a nonfiction author or what have you. So keep that in mind. Right? Know what content you plan to offer, right? So on that note, this doesn't have to be super fancy, right? If you're a fiction author, early access to chapters as they are written is a viable model for most authors who are offering subscriptions. There are authors out there doing it right now, right? And are making a pretty penny. This is where I recommend you start with. If you're not sure what content to provide people, start with early access. Start with that. Right? So they're going to get the chapters of the book as they are written. I have seen authors who even do this model, and they are sharing their rough drafts with readers in these subscription models that they're doing. And then the readers are also getting the updated version as they edit it, as they improve upon it. Right? So just the process of you writing the book can become the content. And this is where I say how it can be motivating, because it means it's going to motivate you to actually write the book. If readers are expecting the next chapter, even if it's the first draft, right? You can also get feedback from these readers in that context. So it kind of becomes they're kind of like beta readers in some contexts, the way that authors use them. But this is the type of content, kind of the content floor, if you will. Right? If you're thinking like, what's the least I can offer and have a viable subscription model, and then I can add on more to it, that's where I would start. So also you want to set expectations. Your subscription is not going to grow overnight, most likely. I'll say that there's probably some people whose subscription, it's just going to explode if you offer it. Depends on how big your audience is, depends on, right, how hungry your readers are for something like that. But you'll need to put in the work and build this business model just as you would anything else as an independent author. And so keep that in mind. Now, selecting a sales platform. A few notes on this. This is a sales platform that you're going to use to run your subscriptions through. And so there's a few things that you need to keep in mind. So while Patreon and other subscription services are out there, for the purposes of today's webinar, we're strictly focusing on direct sales, a direct sales approach to subscriptions. So Patreon is out there. It's an option. And in fact, a lot of this can apply to Patreon as well, right? And there's other services like it, but we're more talking about using a direct sales service in this context instead, doing this through your website. So most sales platforms offer subscription features. PayHip offers them, Shopify, I'm pretty sure all of them do. It's a pretty universal feature. Fourth Wall has subscriptions, right? A lot of these platforms do. And so for the most part, they're going to function fairly similarly. You might want to test and compare, see what different bells and whistles they have to go along with it. If there's a platform you prefer to run your subscriptions through, you're probably going to be all right. To be quite honest with you, this choice is not particularly hard in many cases, but just make sure that they have a subscription feature right before you get started. Your sales platform does not need to be integrated with BookFunnel for most of the methods I'm going to describe today. There's one method that does require it, but the other two do not. So in most cases, you don't need to connect it to BookFunnel. This means you could use Stripe, for example. This is a payment platform that's pretty popular. BookFunnel doesn't integrate with them at this time, but you could do it that way. If your website, I'm not sure if Wix and Squarespace have subscription models with their sales tools, but if they do, maybe your website's through one of those platforms and they have a subscription feature, you could use that and you could still manage it this way for the most part with some of these methods that I'm going to describe, right? BookFunnel's sales integration is only for sales of individual sales of ebooks. I need to edit that sentence there, but you understand it's for individual sales of ebooks and audiobooks. When somebody goes to your store, they add it to their cart, they check out, BookFunnel delivers it. That's what BookFunnel direct sales integration is intended for. BookFunnel sales integration does not work with subscriptions. So while you might have your sales platform connected to BookFunnel, a subscription payment is not going to trigger a delivery of a book automatically on BookFunnel, at least not at this time. There might be, I don't know. I'm not part of our dev team, so they might be building a feature that's for that in the future, but we have features right now that can do it as well and can do it just as well, fairly easily. In fact, one platform though stands out. And so I don't usually like to pick favorites, but it's Shopify in this case. And this is my opinion, right? I want to preface that by saying this is my opinion. This can also change as the landscape evolves. But with ShopPay, a strong brand that customers trust, this is the safest choice, in my opinion, at present, if you're building a subscription service. I recently, about a month ago, my wife sent me a Facebook message of this t-shirt that she really liked on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna buy my wife a couple t-shirts. And I follow this link, and it's a Shopify store. And so immediately when you go to checkout, oh, it's Shopify. Cool. Their ShopPay remembers your payment details, regardless on which platform you're on. Shopify is, for that reason, highly trusted. People are going to go to your store and they're going to know, oh, it's a Shopify store. Okay, cool. I've bought stuff through Shopify stores before. This can change in the future. And it doesn't mean that, like, if you really prefer to use a different platform, that you're going to necessarily struggle or, it's not going to work for you, right? But just know that Shopify is very trusted. And so if you're wanting to take the safest bet and you don't really care which platform you use, you don't have another reason to use a different platform, that would be my recommendation. You can still make this work with other platforms, though. It's not that Shopify has to be the platform you use. It's just used for a reason and highly trusted by consumers, right? Especially if you are doing any type of online advertising, running ads on Facebook, for example. So delivery method number one that we're going to talk about is bulk delivery. Bulk delivery is a tool, a BookFunnel feature, that delivers ebooks and audiobooks directly to the BookFunnel libraries of a list of readers. So all you have to do is select the books that you want to deliver. Of course, you'd have to upload these books to BookFunnel. You have to create them there first. But once you've done that, you can create a new bulk delivery, select which books you want to deliver, and then copy and paste a list of emails that you'll probably get from your sales platform, those who are actively subscribed, and you click deliver. Those books get added to their library. So this is our number one recommended method at present for the majority of subscription delivery applications, because it's easy for you to use and it's easy for readers to receive their content. They can get the BookFunnel app on their phone. They can access their BookFunnel library in their browser on any device. There's no complicated account setup process for them. They just have to set a password. The email that they use to sign up for your subscription is the same email. Their library is created automatically. And so it's a very simple setup process for them. So for that reason, bulk delivery is what we recommend as like our number one go-to. If you're telling me, hey, I'm doing subscriptions, what should I do? Bulk delivery is what I'm going to tell you to do first, right? I recommend having a set date every month that you're going to deliver content, right? That works best with this method if it's a set date. So let's say your subscriptions renew at the beginning of the month. I would usually say, make it a few days after that you deliver the content, just for anybody whose subscription may have lapsed and then they have to re-sign up for it so they don't miss any content, something like that. Maybe you deliver it on the 5th, for example, right? Whatever it might be. And then you drop content then. Or if you're delivering content more frequently, have a set day of the week or something like that. But simply take your list of subscriber emails from your sales platform. You select the content that you want to deliver, like I described, and it will be added to those readers' BookFunnel libraries, right? You want to communicate with your readers. Communication is important here. Their subscription content has been delivered, usually through your mailing list service or other preferred methods of communication. BookFunnel is, in this case, not going to send a delivery email. We're not going to email readers to let them know that the books have been delivered. So that is on you in order to tell them that the content is available for them. But again, it's super convenient then to access the content, for you to deliver it. It's as simple as can be. Now, delivery method number two is a little different. This is using BookFunnel restricted pages. Now, restricted pages are download pages that require readers to verify that they are a subscriber to your mailing list before accessing content. So this method does require your mailing list service to be integrated with BookFunnel, not necessarily your sales platform. We'll talk about that in a moment. But your mailing list is basically going to act like a middleman between your sales platform and BookFunnel, because your mailing list will be connected to those restricted pages. So restricted pages give you the ability to share direct links to content, while knowing that only active subscribers can access it. They have to verify their email anytime that they go to access that content through that link. Once it's in their BookFunnel library, of course, they'll be able to access it there with ease. But restricted landing pages, you can put that link anywhere. You could post it out on a billboard, and only people who are signed up for your mailing list would be able to get the book using those credentials. All right, so integration between your sales platform and your mailing list is required, or highly recommended, I guess I would say, for this method. Your sales platform needs the ability to add and remove subscribers from specific mailing lists when those readers modify their subscription. One example that I'm gonna give about for this here, I previously said, hey, I recommend Shopify, but this is gonna be different. One example would be Stripe and MailerLite. Stripe and MailerLite have the ability to integrate with each other pretty seamlessly. I played around with this myself before. So somebody signs up for a subscription through Stripe, they can get added to a specific group. That's what MailerLite calls lists. They call them groups. So they get added to a specific group or list in MailerLite, and that group can then be connected to BookFunnel. So integration between BookFunnel and your mailing list is required for this method. BookFunnel restricted pages need to be connected to a specific list, or in some cases, it depends on what service you're using. Sometimes it's a specific list. Sometimes for certain services, it's your total mailing list. They have to be a subscriber on that mailing list. But in this example that I'm giving with Stripe connected to MailerLite, MailerLite connected to BookFunnel, basically works like this. They sign up for the subscription through Stripe. MailerLite and Stripe are pretty seamless in their integration. So technically, this could even be like a part of your regular newsletter that you send with MailerLite, and they could sign up for the subscription in that email. That's how seamless that integration between Stripe and MailerLite is. But regardless, they sign up through Stripe. They get added to a list in MailerLite. When they get added to that list, you can even trigger an automation to send them an email that has the link to the restricted page, and that restricted page is connected to that list in BookFunnel. So there's a few steps to the process. There's a few moving parts. We've got to have 3 things going on here. We need to have a mailing list. So it is a little bit more complex than the previous method, but it can work just as well. And in fact, this is also a way that even if you're not doing subscriptions per se, maybe you're like, you know what? I really like Stripe as a sales platform. I use MailerLite already. You can actually set up a direct store, sell your books in your newsletter through Stripe, even if it's not a subscription, and deliver them this way as well, right? So there's a few steps to the setup process, but this is method number 2, right? If you want to build it out this way. Method number 3, and I want to preface by saying this is a little bit more advanced. Coupon codes would be method number 3. So this is providing coupon codes for specific products that can then be purchased through your direct store. So books can be delivered by BookFunnel if your sales platform is integrated. Essentially, people sign up for your subscription and they receive a monthly coupon code, and then they can use that coupon code and redeem it in your store. So this is an advanced method. So just know that. And in most cases, we'll require a third-party service to generate and deliver unique coupon codes to your subscribers. So this is not for the faint of heart. This is something where, let's say you've got a big backlist of books, and you have them in all formats. You have them in audiobook, ebook, you have paperbacks, you have special edition hardbacks, you've got all this stuff, right? Maybe you also have some merchandise. Maybe you've got coffee mugs and you've got t-shirts and you've got all sorts of stuff. And you're like, I want people to be able to sign up for $10 a month and then get like a $15 coupon to spend in my store every month, right? So there's some perceived value there for them, right? They're like, okay, I'm spending $10 a month, but I'm getting $15 worth of anything. And then that's just a coupon that they can use for maybe a specific product. Or maybe you treat it more like a gift card and they can just spend $15 a month in your store. Again, this method, this model, it might not work for everybody, but it might work for you. I'm trying to describe how it might work. So some of you might be looking at this being like, this is really complex. What's with all the extra steps? In some cases, this might make sense for you. Once they have the coupon code, they can then use them to purchase the products in your direct store. So it's kind of nice because you're kind of keeping everything's going down the same pipeline. Even your subscribers or people who are part of your subscription service are still purchasing things through your direct store. There's some legitimate reasons why you'd want to do that. BookFunnel direct sales delivery tools are able to be used with this method. And that's the one reason why you might want to use it, which allows you to easily perform returns and exchanges and even manual deliveries. And we'll talk a little bit because I know this is going to come up as the question of clawbacks, which is that like, okay, somebody cancels their subscription. I want to be able to take away all the things they received through the subscription when they cancel it, right? This is the one method that kind of allows you to do that. Right? The other methods, it can't really be done, or at least you as the author don't have the ability to do it directly from your BookFunnel dashboard. The reason why you are able to do this is because essentially they're buying the product through your store anyway. They're just using that coupon code. A transaction exists in BookFunnel under your sales transactions, and you can return that item in BookFunnel. That removes access from their BookFunnel library, for example. So that you could do that. For some subscription services, that makes sense. It doesn't always make sense in every case. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a moment. If this is the method you want to use, Shopify is probably your best friend for this one, or your best bet for this method. It has many third-party apps that could do something like this, like connect and deliver these kinds of codes to your readers. So Shopify, again, coming in clutch here with this one. Otherwise, on other platforms, you could make it work. Like the simplest method to do this would be to create a coupon code manually. Like you could do this in PayHip or many other platforms. Create a coupon code and just give that coupon code to those readers and maybe set a limit on how many times it can be redeemed. Theoretically, though, they could share that coupon code if you deliver it that way. I mean, theoretically, somebody could share these coupon codes too. But if you generate them and they're unique, they share it with a friend and their friend uses it instead of them. What's the big deal? You know what I mean? They still paid you for it. So they paid you for the subscription in advance. If they share the coupon code, it's really not that big of a deal. But if you create a coupon code that's kind of universal, not unique, and then you share that with all of your subscribers, that's like the most bare bones method. Just know that it's going to get shared and probably used by more people than those who subscribed to your subscription, your monthly subscription. So just keep that in mind. A few universal recommendations here for you. Now that we've detailed these methods, again, so we have bulk delivery, where we're delivering those books directly to their libraries. Again, this is our number one recommended method. You just take the list of readers. Even if you have a tiered system, let's say you have 3 tiers of a subscription, you'll be able to take readers from that first tier, deliver specific rewards to them in a bulk delivery. And then for each tier, you can do separate deliveries. So it makes it really easy. The second method was restricted pages. A few more moving parts. Now you need your mailing list involved and you're delivering links. And we're going to verify that they're subscribed to a mailing list in order to get their content, that sort of thing. And then the coupon code method that I just described, again, a little bit more advanced, but it might make sense in certain contexts. But here, some universal recommendations for you. So regardless of which method you choose, all of these recommendations will be helpful, ensuring a good reader experience, but also help keep your subscription content secure. So I recommend you have a starter library of content that gets delivered immediately to new subscribers. So somebody signs up for your subscription model, right? And if you're saying, well, bulk delivery requires me to still manually deliver content, for example, what if they sign up on August 6th and the next time I'm dropping content isn't until a month from now? Right? How do I make sure that they get new content? Well, the starter library would be what I would recommend. And so that starter library, I would recommend you could use a BookFunnel bundle page, put restricted pages on that. There would have to be some communication between your sales platform and your mailing list service, right? To make those work again. But having something that you deliver to them immediately is what I recommend. Right? You can also deliver that stuff manually when they sign up in certain contexts. And maybe some of that initial starter library content you make just easily accessible. You could just use a download page, knowing that it's not going to be absolutely 100% secure, right? But it's the starter library content, and it gives them some immediate benefit. There should be some immediate benefit, even if it's not a starter library. There should be something immediate that they get out of subscribing to joining your subscription. Books can be restricted to the BookFunnel app. I think I touched on this briefly. BookFunnel app or the cloud reader to prevent downloads and prevent readers from emailing themselves files. If you're saying, well, I want to do the subscription model, I don't want them to be able to share the content, then using restricted books, this is different from restricted pages. Those are two different things. But restricting your book, restricting the delivery settings so that they can only use the BookFunnel app or the BookFunnel cloud reader would be the way to go. This means that they would have to sign in using the BookFunnel app on a mobile device, or they would have to sign in using in their browser into their BookFunnel library. If you do choose to allow them to download files, the files can still be watermarked. So if you choose to offer downloads, those files will be watermarked in most cases. With bulk delivery, the files are watermarked. Restricted pages, they're watermarked. Anything short of a simple download pages, they don't collect an email. The reader just shows up on the page and they click download. That's the only case where the files will not be watermarked, right? So this gives you control over how content is accessed. So you have the ability to restrict them or watermark them as you see fit. And then if readers have trouble, send them to BookFunnel. right? So support is here to help you out. If they have trouble, reply to their email and CC help@bookfunnel.com. We will help them get their books. If it's a situation where you're using bulk delivery, I would highly recommend you just say, hey, this is the method that I used when you CC us, right? And we will help them get their books. And so we are here to support the back end of this whole business model and help your readers get their books if they're having trouble. Right? So however you choose to deliver them, we are here to help. A few best practices and pitfalls I want to go over. So KDP Select and subscriptions. This is probably going to come up anyway, so I'm going to address it now. It can be done. You can do KDP Select and a subscription model at the same time. There's a few ways to do it. But if you're releasing content early through your subscription model before releasing it on publishing it on KDP Select, that is how you can go about doing that. I know this will come up at some point, so I'm just addressing it now. It is totally viable. If you were like, well, I'm a KDP Select author, but I also want to do subscriptions, this is how you do it. And the way that I would recommend you do it and the way I recommend you pitch it is they're getting early access by being part of your subscription service. So if they can be like a book ahead or something like that, and they can maybe get chapters as they're released from what's being released on KDP Select, that's that's the way to do it, right? That's would be my recommendation. It can be tricky sometimes because for new people signing up for new content, and some of those books are still in KDP Select, like the earlier books in the series, that can get a little murky there. But it can work if you're focusing on like a really strong launch. I would say you'd probably want to build the subscription model up a little bit first, and then you could transition that content into KDP Select is the way to think about it, right? Right. So you're not necessarily taking people from KDP Select and then putting them into your subscription. It's kind of the other way around. So you also probably want to bank some content before you launch a subscription service. Have 8 to 12 weeks of content ready to go before you launch a subscription. You have something, a roadmap to show people, hey, this is what you're going to get, and constantly be adding content onto that. This also makes sure that you have something ready to go and you don't come to the next month when you're supposed to deliver content and you don't have anything. Have some stuff prepared ahead of time so that when your subscription starts rolling, right, people are getting stuff right away. Clawbacks. I talked about this briefly. This is something I don't recommend in most cases. So this is where the user loses access to past content when they cancel. Now, obviously, if they cancel their subscription, they're not going to get any of the new content that comes out. That makes sense, and that's not a problem. It's losing access to past content. I want to be clear. BookFunnel typically doesn't allow you to do this. If you deliver books through bulk delivery, add those to those readers' libraries. For the most part, you don't have the ability to remove those books from those readers' libraries. They have indefinite access to those books, right? There are some exceptions to that, and you would have to contact BookFunnel support and say, hey, like for example, if you delivered ARCs to readers and you found out that one reader and maybe they didn't leave the review on time and you're removing them from your list and you want to remove access to an ARC. I know this is a different application, but that's a context or a situation, for example, where we will be like, okay, we can remove that book from that reader's library. For the most part, this isn't something that you can do, right, with these delivery methods. The one method where you can is where you're actually using direct sales to deliver those books. And that's kind of why I mentioned that method, because it is doable in some cases. But generally speaking, I don't recommend you do this. It might make sense in certain business models. And so if that's something you need to be able to do, it's probably a more intricate system. That's something I recommend you reach out to BookFunnel support to talk about, and we can go into some of the details on like what your specific setup is. But generally speaking, best practice is probably if they were subscribed at the time, let them keep that content. It's also going to build goodwill between you and them. Who knows? They might come back, right? They have that content there to go through, and let them have it. Is kind of what I'm saying. Something to balance this out is the amount of content that you're delivering to them as well. If you're delivering a lot of content for that subscription, and maybe they have enough that they can bank that content for a while and then unsubscribe and then consume it over a period of time, you might just be delivering too much content in a month. If it's more content that they can read in a month, then maybe that's the issue. And then also keep your promises. So with any subscription, you want to avoid over-promising and under-delivering. And if you're saying you're going to get a book a month, better be prepared to write a book a month and have it ready to go. Right? That's where I like the idea of like, I'm going to give you guys early access to chapters as I write them. Because then it's very understandable. You know what, guys? I had some things going on this week. I only got 2 or 3 chapters out to you guys. Next week, I'm going to come back with some more, right? A business model like that is very highly flexible. If you're saying every month I'm going to release, I mean, you guys are going to have access to ebook, audiobook, and paperback, right? As part of your subscription. That's heavy duty, right? That's like Katie Cross level of performance. Katie, if you're watching, come back to the podcast. It was lots of fun. But like Katie Cross does that release model already, right? She releases a new book every month. She releases it in all formats. If you're going to do that for a subscription service, just like be ready to buckle down. That's a lot of work. Just like know that ahead of time. And so if you're aspiring to do this, and if this is maybe like not directly within your reach, maybe it's a little beyond your reach, start small, right? Offer things that you can realistically deliver on by the promised date. And this is why I, again, recommend something like early access to chapters as you write them, early access to books, because it's so simple. And it's probably the best place to start. But if you have also a backlist, maybe of books as well, you're thinking about this a little bit differently, right? You have your backlist. Leverage that. Leverage the content you've already created. Right? Leverage all that kind of stuff before you go making big, grandiose promises of like every month I'm going to do this and that sort of thing. You have to be able to deliver on that every month. Essentially, you're giving yourself a job when you create, when you make those kinds of promises. So be ready to do that job if that's the promise you're going to make to your subscribers. So we will go ahead and get to some questions now. So Jim has a question, bulk delivery, but what if they purchase the subscription series at different times, even different months? Yes. So Jim, this is a good question. So there's a few ways that you can structure with bulk delivery. You can do just a monthly release method, like you sign up and you get whatever you get each month, right? Which is how like subscription boxes work that way. You subscribe to like the Jerky of the Month Club, right? Something like that. And then you get sent beef jerky every month. And you just get what you get every month, and that's it, right? However, that's probably not going to be the most compatible method for most authors when you're providing a subscription service. So you can do what's also the cumulative method, which is, and this is great because it adds value to your subscription service cumulatively over time. So let's say you charge $10 a month, and it's all the early access that we've talked about. Let's just talk about that method. So you start doing early access as your subscription model from the beginning. Well, the value of that at the beginning is going to be just whatever content is there, whatever content is available. But if you use the cumulative method, when somebody subscribes, they get everything you've released through the subscription just by signing up. And at some point in time, right, signing up $10 a month to have access to all the entire backlog of content is huge, right? There's a huge value in that. And so signing up for $10 a month becomes a no-brainer. This also was, I think, earlier on, Jim, when you asked this question in the presentation, and I hadn't mentioned starter libraries yet. And so starter library would be a recommendation to offer some content immediately. That or a part of your subscription service, just tell them, hey, you know, when you sign up, your starter library is going to be, if you just want to stick with bulk delivery and you don't want to do any funny business with restricted pages or anything like that, then you could also say, when you sign up, your starter library will be delivered to you within, 24 hours or 48 hours or something like that. So you could still use bulk delivery in that way. A question here from Steph, are restricted landing pages available on the first-time author plan? No, they are not. So I'll do a quick rundown here of what is and isn't available on the first-time author plan. For the most part, what we're talking about today is going to require, with a few exceptions, is going to require at least the mid-list author plan. So bulk delivery is on the mid-list author plan. Restricted landing pages are on the mid-list author plan with integrations. So that is an add-on. Integrations are required for restricted landing pages. If you use the coupon code method, really the only thing you need there is direct sales integration, and that's included on the first-time author plan. So that's the one method that you could use. On the first-time author plan, you have direct sales delivery. You have simple download pages. Simple download pages, however, you might not want to use for a subscription because those links can be shared very easily. So Sarah Lynn asks, will the subscribers be able to share their credits with a friend and get the content? I think this is asking about like the store credit or the coupon method. Depending on how you do it, yes. Shopify, like I said, has some third-party apps that can be used to deliver these type of coupons. If you deliver a unique coupon that has only one use to a subscriber and that person's like, hey, I'm not going to use this, and they give it to their friend and their friend uses it, it's already been paid for. So in a way, it's not really the end of the world, right? And who knows, maybe that friend will use that coupon and then sign up for your subscription themselves. So if I'm getting your question correct here, I think that's what you're asking. That's how that would work. So in those cases, yes, that's why you would want to use unique codes and deliver unique codes to each subscriber. If you deliver the same code to each subscriber, then it's a little more fuzzy. And if they share it with somebody, they kind of are getting it for free. Leslie asks, what about Wix website mailing list for integration? So Wix does not directly integrate with BookFunnel. So we don't have, there's not a way to connect your mailing list on Wix to BookFunnel. However, for some of these methods, it could still work. The bulk delivery method would still work with that and would be what I recommend. But we do not directly integrate with Wix, either for sales or for a mailing list integration. But that said, if you're running a subscription model through your Wix website, you would be able to deliver with bulk delivery very easily because that doesn't require integration. So that's what I'd recommend. So Sarah Lynn also asks, is one method more secure than the other? So this is a good question. I really, when it comes down to it, all three of these methods are going to be about the same, because they're going to be delivering the book in kind of the same way. Bulk delivery, it goes into their library instead. Whereas with the other two methods, there is a link that gets delivered, but that's a private link, and private links are restricted by IP address. So there's maybe some question about that. Of course, with a restricted page, they have to verify their email first. And if you restrict the books to the BookFunnel app and Cloud Reader, then they're all pretty much about the same. Right. So in terms of level of security, there's not that much of a difference. The big difference between those three methods is kind of is how easy they are to set up. Bulk delivery is the easiest method, and that's why it's what we recommend as like the first go-to. So that's why we recommend that. In terms of security, they're about the same. So Jeanette asks, I am launching my audiobook series in a few months. Would the bulk delivery method be at the current audiobook prices? If each episode is, say, 10 to 15 minutes long, does the current audio minute counting system allow for partial hours? Okay, so this is asking about our audiobook plans. Yes, it is counting the hours of delivered audio. So yes, it counts the minutes too, but because I think there's 5,000 hours and there's unlimited. One thing to note, if you are delivering something that's shorter, I guess it depends on how you're doing this, but short audio is another one of our features that's available by default on the Midlist Author plan. It's not part of the audiobook subscription. It's its own feature that allows you to deliver a single audio file, not an audiobook with multiple MP3 files, but a single MP3 file that's up to 120 minutes in length. For things like this, that's sometimes what I recommend, but it depends. Because if you really like the audiobook format and the audiobook player on BookFunnel, you might want to like create the audiobook and then add chapters to it as you go along. So it depends on how you're doing it, Jeanette. But yes, the minutes do get counted as they add up to that 5,000 hour limit. And bulk delivery is included with your Midlist Author subscription. It can deliver audiobooks and ebooks all the same. So the actual delivery of the books is not necessarily going to be a problem, right? In that respect, I don't think you bump up against that limit. Jim has a related question, and I guess I kind of answered it here already. Yes, you could offer an audiobook by distributing it as a series of short audios in subscription form. Yes, you can absolutely do that. And that is available on the Midlist Author plan. That does not require the audiobooks add-on. So if you're just doing short audio, that's totally fine. We give you some flexibility in that regard. So Jim asks, excuse me, guys, I'm trying to making sure I'm saving my voice because I've got another hour after this one. We have a few more questions here. I'm going to try to get to all of them here in the next couple minutes before we move on. So could you just send a BookFunnel download link from a MailerLite automation? Yes, you absolutely could. Thing to keep in mind here, depends on what kind of link you're sending. Right. So you could send if you send a restricted page link, that will verify that they are a subscriber before getting the book. If you just send an email collection page, even just an email collection page link, that link can be shared and with people who are not subscribed. Now they will sign up for your mailing list, but they're not going to necessarily become subscribers to your subscription service, if you will. So keep that in mind. Leslie asks if the slides will be available. Yes, I will make sure that these slides are available with the replay when it gets posted on YouTube. We'll also probably be creating a guide from this as well. That might not be available for a little while, but those guides I talked about earlier will be available. at some point. So Sarah Lynn, I think this might be a follow-up to an earlier answer. What would keep a subscriber under the cumulative method from signing up for $10 and then getting all the content and then canceling once they got all the content? Nothing. The hope would be that there would be plenty of content for them to consume, and then the new content coming out is also something they're interested in, right? So there are pros and cons to each method, depending on how you choose to do it. So D, let's see here. Let's see. Okay, well, I think we have a question here from L. I wonder if a custom welcome sequence through your newsletter platform, delivering BookFunnel restricted pages with each email to the content that you delivered, would create a subscription model for a serial fiction, for example, that you want delivered over time from the start, regardless of when a person signs up. Yes, this is actually another method, which is that you're subscribed every month, and then you get the content in sequence. So this would be the sequence method. And yes, this would be a way to do that. And in fact, that second method of using restricted pages would be ideal for it. So this would be something like you sign up and you immediately get the first book, regardless of when you sign up, you get the first book. And then in a month, you get the next book. And you're just in this sequence order, right, if you will. That is another way to deliver that content. So there's like the cumulative method, like I talked about, where you get the full backlog when you sign up for it. There is the method where you just get what gets released. You don't get any of the backlog content. You just get the new stuff as it comes out. And there's also this where like you're starting a sequence. And so when you subscribe, you get book one. Doesn't matter when you subscribe. The subscription service could have been created 2 years ago, and there's 25 or 36 books in it, whatever it happens to be. And you go through that in sequence. A question here, in terms of not giving away too much to new subscribers, could you edit restricted pages so they only show the last 4 releases, for example? So you'd add this month's book and delete the oldest one, letting your subs know, obviously, so they can download it before it disappears. Yes, this is also a method where there's kind of maybe a range of content that's available to them. Some of the oldest stuff kind of falls off and then new stuff gets added. You could do that as well. That's another option as well. All right. And last one here from Jim. Well, I'll go ahead and answer this one, Jim. You kept him coming today, so I'll answer this one, and this will be it. To be clear about the MailerLite automation to restricted page links, would the restricted page also check if the subscriber is part of a MailerLite subscription group? So this, Jim, this is a good question. Basically, BookFunnel restricted pages can only check MailerLite groups. So if MailerLite has some other way of categorizing and managing that, then BookFunnel cannot see that. We can only see who is in your MailerLite groups. Now, with an automation on MailerLite, you should be able to say, hey, somebody subscribed, and they can subscribe through MailerLite directly. Somebody subscribed to pay me this much a month, add them to this list or add them to this group. And BookFunnel can see that group, right? That list, if you will, but we cannot see other stuff. The groups is basically the only thing we have permission to see through our API, and a little bit of other data, but that'd be it.
Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos from BookFunnel, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.